Hi everyone, welcome to another question from the same passage, and the direction for question is what? Answer the following question based on the information given below. As we have understood the text, let's move to the question. The question asked here, the author studies how learning names of novel objects influences categorization, memory, and perception to show that, right? So what we can find out here, we can find out that the question is asking about the purpose or conclusion drawn from studying the effects of learning names for novel objects. Right now, we talk about that in somewhere in the first or second para. Uh, what does it say, or where do we find out? Let's look into it. So for most of research career, I so and so, like most other cognitive scientists, my concern was with manipulating some factors and looking to see how this manipulating affected the group of rates. In my case, I was interested in the way that typical human condition, so and so, typical experiment, I would manipulate affected the group of rates. In my case, I was interested in the typical mm, human cognition and perception is okay. For example, I examined whether learning names for novel objects. Yes, I examined whether learning names for novel objects, right, changed how people categorized, remembered, and perceived them. These were typical group effect studies in which we compare how people respond to some manipulation. Of course, with any such study, different people respond in different ways, but the focus is on the average response, isn't it? Okay. Uh, the other studies how learning the names of novel objects influence categorization, memory, and perception to show them. Now look at the choices. The first choice stated language has no impact on cognition. Second is called as the group of which is always a reliable measure. Three is called as individual differences can be masked in group studies. And fourth is called as inner speech is universal among all individuals. So the first choice stated here, uh, language has no impact on cognition. So this is not correct. The passage discusses how language affects cognition, isn't it? How language affects cognition, specifically how learning names for objects impacts categorization and perception. It doesn't claim that language has no impact, right? So hence one is incorrect. Two, which is also said the group of which is always a reliable measure. This is also not true, as the passage highlights what the limitations of relying relying solely relying solely on group averages, indicating that individual differences can be important and sometimes covered when only looking at averages or masked when only looking at averages. So, two is also incorrect. Three, individual differences can be masked in group studies. If you see that this one is a correct one because it is stated individual differences can be covered in group studies, isn't it? Uh, you can say that what here it is stated, I examined so and so category. These were typical group effect studies in which we compare how people respond to some manipulation. With any such studies, different group people in different ways, but the focus is on the average response. For example, during green helps, most people see the subtle differences between more green and less green color patches. Interfering with language by having people do a concurrent verbal tasks make it difficult for most people to uh, group together objects that share a specific feature, such as being a similar size or color, but most people are not everyone. Could it be that some people's color discrimination and object categorization is actively aided by language, but others people less so? This thought led us to wonder if this could be another hidden differences, much like apanthesia. In particular, we begin to look at inner speech, long thought to be a universal feature of human experience. Most people report having at inner voice, for example, so and so. Okay, so you can say that what inner speech is universal among all individuals. and three, individual differences can be masked in group studies. So if you look at the option three, uh, so the passage emphasizes that while group studies reveal the average responses, they can you can say obscure uh, individual differences or stop individual differences. The study of how learning names affects cognition describe that what individual variability in responses can be overlooked when focusing solely on group averages. And four, inner speech is universal among all individuals. This is not correct. The passage argues that inner speech varies among individuals, right? Individuals and is not universal, right? It discusses how some people experience inner speech while others do not. So hence we can find out four is not correct. So the correct answer should be option three, and the reason behind is the purpose of study. How learning names for noble objects influences categorization, memory, and perception is to, you know, describe that or illustrate that individual differences may be hidden when focusing only on group studies. So mask is called as a right? Hidden when focusing only on group studies. So hence option three is the correct answer. Hope you understood this. That's all. Thank you.